Introduction. The power of our thoughts in shaping our reality. Every day, our minds are flooded with thoughts, sometimes calm and positive, other times filled with doubt, fear, or negativity. But have you ever stopped to think about how powerful these thoughts truly are? Our thoughts don't just exist in isolation. They influence everything we do, how we feel, and how we respond to the world around us. What we think directly impacts who we become, the actions we take, and ultimately, the life we live. At any given moment, your thoughts are either lifting you toward your goals or holding you back from achieving them. When you believe in your abilities, you take action. When you doubt yourself, you retreat. Thoughts shape our internal landscape, creating mental patterns that, over time, become the foundation for everything we experience. The good news is that you have the power to change your thoughts, and in doing so, you have the power to change your reality. In this audiobook, we're going to explore how negative thought patterns can become barriers to our success and happiness. You'll learn how your mind is wired to create these patterns, and more importantly, how to break free from them. Just as we can train our muscles to become stronger, we can train our minds to embrace more positive, empowering thoughts that help us reach our fullest potential. So, why do our thoughts hold so much power? Let's start by understanding that thoughts are not just fleeting. They influence our actions and emotions. A single thought can lead to a decision that shapes our day, a pattern of actions that shapes our life, and ultimately a belief system that becomes deeply ingrained in our subconscious. Think about a time when you faced a challenge. Perhaps you thought, "This is too hard." And those words, that thought, led you to give up. Alternatively, consider a moment when you thought, "I can do this," and that belief spurred you into action, leading to success. The difference in your outcome was driven by the thoughts you chose to believe at that moment. Our thoughts act like a filter through which we see the world, and when we allow negative thinking to dominate, it's as though we are wearing dark-colored glasses. But when we shift our thinking and embrace a growth mindset, it's as though we're putting on clear lenses that allow us to see possibilities, opportunities, and solutions that were once hidden from view. The key is understanding that you don't have to passively accept whatever thoughts come your way. In fact, you can take active control of your thoughts. This control, however, doesn't come overnight. It takes awareness, effort, and persistence to change ingrained thought patterns. But with the right mindset and tools, you can break free from negative cycles and create a mindset that supports your personal growth and success. This audiobook will walk you through the process of breaking free from negative thought patterns. You will learn how to shift your mindset, challenge limiting beliefs, and cultivate the kind of mental habits that will propel you forward in life. Your thoughts are your reality, but you have the power to change them. This journey starts with understanding the immense power of your mind and learning how to harness it to shape the life you desire. Together, let's begin the process of creating a new, empowering relationship with your thoughts, and in doing so, unlock a future of possibility and growth. Chapter 1. Understanding Negative Thought Patterns. The human mind is incredibly powerful, but it is also prone to certain default patterns of thinking that can limit our potential. These patterns often emerge without us even realizing it, shaping the way we perceive ourselves and the world around us. These are negative thought patterns, ways of thinking that hold us back, prevent us from reaching our goals, and leave us feeling stuck or overwhelmed. But why do these negative thought patterns persist? How do they form, and why do they often seem so automatic? And, most importantly, how can we break free from them? In this chapter, we will explore the nature of negative thought patterns, how they develop, and the impact they have on our lives. By understanding their origins, we can begin to dismantle them and create more empowering ways of thinking. What are negative thought patterns? Negative thought patterns, often referred to as cognitive distortions, are habitual ways of thinking that distort our perception of reality, typically in a way that is self-sabotaging or overly pessimistic. They often arise as a defense mechanism, rooted in past experiences, insecurities, or even societal conditioning. These thoughts are not necessarily based on reality, but on our perceptions and interpretations of situations. Some common negative thought patterns include catastrophizing. This is when you expect the worst possible outcome in every situation, no matter how small or insignificant the issue might be. For example, if you make a mistake at work, you might think, "I've ruined everything. I'll probably lose my job." Overgeneralization. This occurs when you take one negative experience and apply it universally. For instance, after failing at a task, you may think, "I always fail, and I'll never get it right." All or nothing thinking. With this thought pattern, you view situations in extreme terms. There's no middle ground. For example, you may think, "Either I do this perfectly, or it's a complete failure." Personalization. This is when you believe that everything that goes wrong is somehow your fault, even if it's not. For example, if a project at work doesn't succeed, you might think, "It's all because I didn't do enough." Filtering. This happens when you focus on the negative aspects of a situation while ignoring the positive. For instance, if you receive feedback at work, you might focus solely on the one criticism, ignoring the many positive comments. These thought patterns, although common, are often distorted and exaggerated, preventing us from seeing things clearly. They create a lens through which we perceive the world, and that lens distorts our reality in ways that undermine our self-esteem, hinder our progress, and perpetuate feelings of helplessness. How negative thought patterns develop. Negative thought patterns often have their roots in our early experiences. Childhood experiences, family dynamics, and societal messages can all play a significant role in shaping the way we think about ourselves and the world. For example, if you grew up in an environment where mistakes were punished harshly or where perfection was expected, you may have internalized a belief that failure is not acceptable. This belief can later manifest as all or nothing thinking, where you feel that if you don't succeed perfectly, you've failed entirely. Similarly, if you experience trauma, rejection, or criticism, your mind might develop a tendency to assume the worst-case scenario in every situation. This might result in catastrophizing, where even small challenges seem like insurmountable obstacles. Negative reinforcement, where your fears or doubts are repeatedly confirmed by past experiences, can also contribute to these thought patterns. When you face repeated failures or setbacks, your mind may begin to generalize that failure to every area of your life, leading to overgeneralization. For example, if you didn't get the job you applied for, you might start thinking, "I'll never get hired anywhere," even though this is an isolated event. Over time, these negative thought patterns become ingrained habits. Just as your body becomes accustomed to certain physical habits, your mind becomes accustomed to thinking in specific ways. The more often you engage in these negative thought patterns, the more automatic and difficult to challenge they become. The impact of negative thought patterns on our lives. The impact of negative thought patterns can be profound. When we consistently think negatively about ourselves or our circumstances, it affects how we feel and behave. Negative thinking can lead to reduced self-esteem. When you constantly criticize yourself or believe that you're incapable, your self-worth diminishes. This can prevent you from taking on new opportunities, trying new things, or even pursuing your passions. Increased anxiety and stress, catastrophizing, overgeneralizing, and other negative patterns can fuel unnecessary worry and anxiety. You may find yourself constantly feeling tense or overwhelmed by fears about things that haven't even happened yet. Procrastination and avoidance. Negative thought patterns can create a fear of failure or a fear of not being good enough, leading you to avoid challenges altogether. This leads to procrastination, as you put off tasks because you're too afraid of not succeeding. Difficulty with relationships. When you believe that others will judge you or that you're not worthy of love or success, it can create barriers in your relationships. You may push people away or sabotage opportunities because of a deep-seated belief that you're not good enough. Limited success. Negative thinking constrains your potential. If you don't believe in your ability to succeed, you'll hesitate to take risks, try new things, or put forth your best effort. Over time, this limits your growth and success. The most damaging part of negative thought patterns is how they reinforce themselves. The more you engage in negative thinking, the more you train your mind to look for evidence that supports those beliefs. This can create a never-ending cycle of negativity, where your thoughts feed into your feelings, and your feelings feed into your actions, limiting your growth and potential. Recognizing negative thought patterns. The first step in breaking free from negative thought patterns is to become aware of them. Many times, we don't even realize that we're engaging in negative thinking. These thoughts have become so ingrained that they feel like facts rather than opinions or beliefs. The good news is that awareness is the first step toward change. Start by paying attention to your inner dialogue. What are the recurring thoughts that arise when you face challenges? Do you automatically assume the worst, or do you criticize yourself before even giving yourself a chance to succeed? Notice when your thoughts become negative and ask yourself, is this thought serving me? Is it based on facts, or is it an exaggerated belief? You can also keep a thought journal. Write down any negative thoughts that arise throughout the day. Over time, you'll begin to notice patterns and recognize the common themes in your thinking. Once you become aware of these patterns, you can begin to question them, challenge them, and replace them with more empowering thoughts. Breaking free from negative thought patterns. Breaking free from negative thought patterns requires conscious effort and practice. Just as it takes time to form a habit, it also takes time to break one. But the effort is well worth it, as doing so opens the door to greater possibilities, success, and happiness. The process begins with awareness, recognizing when you're engaging in negative thinking. The next step is challenging those thoughts. Ask yourself if the thought is based on evidence or if it's simply an assumption. Often, you'll find that the negative thought is unfounded. After challenging the thought, reframe it into something more positive and empowering. For example, if you think, "I always fail," reframe it as, "I've faced challenges before, and I've learned from them. I'm capable of improving with effort." As you continue to recognize, challenge, and reframe your negative thoughts, you'll begin to notice that they lose their grip on you. Over time, you'll train your brain to think more positively, and these empowering thought patterns will become more automatic. Conclusion: the freedom of changing your thoughts. Negative thought patterns can hold us back, but they don't have to define us. By understanding how these patterns develop and how they impact our lives, we gain the power to change them. Awareness is the first step, followed by challenging and reframing those thoughts. With consistent effort and practice, you can break free from the grip of negative thinking and create a mindset that supports your growth, success, and happiness. Remember, your thoughts are powerful, and you have the ability to choose how you want to think. As you cultivate a positive, growth-oriented mindset, you will unlock the door to endless opportunities and become the best version of yourself. Chapter 2: The Science of Thought and Its Impact on Our Lives. We often hear that our thoughts have the power to shape our reality. While this may sound like an abstract concept, the science behind our thoughts reveals that there's more truth to this statement than we may realize. Our thoughts don't just exist in our minds as random, fleeting ideas. They influence our emotions, behaviors, and even our physical health. By understanding the science of thought, we can harness its power to create a more fulfilling and productive life. In this chapter, we will explore how thoughts form in the brain, how they affect our mental and physical well-being, and how the process of neuroplasticity allows us to change the way we think. Understanding the science behind thought will not only demystify the impact of our thinking, but will also provide you with the tools needed to break free from negative thought patterns and create more empowering ones. How thoughts form in the brain. Our brains are incredibly complex organs, responsible for managing everything from basic functions to complex emotional responses. Thoughts begin in the neocortex, the part of the brain responsible for higher-level functions such as reasoning, decision-making, and memory. The brain constantly processes information from the environment, and we interpret that information through the lens of our thoughts. When we experience something, whether it's a visual cue, an event, or an interaction, our brain assigns meaning to it. This meaning is shaped by our past experiences, beliefs, and emotions. For example, if you've had a difficult conversation with someone in the past and it made you feel rejected, your brain might interpret a similar situation in the future through that same lens of rejection, even if the situation doesn't warrant it. This can lead to automatic thoughts that influence your perception of the event, often in a negative or biased way. These automatic thoughts can be incredibly powerful. They form quickly and often without conscious awareness, like the mind working on autopilot. When we experience something that triggers a negative memory or emotion, the brain quickly pulls from past experiences to create a thought, such as, "I always mess up," or "I'm not good enough." These automatic thoughts, especially when they are negative, can reinforce self-limiting beliefs and contribute to negative thought patterns. The role of emotions in shaping our thoughts. While thoughts are the driving force behind our perception of reality, emotions play a crucial role in shaping those thoughts. In fact, our emotions often trigger the thoughts we experience, which is why it's so difficult to separate the two. For example, if you feel anxious about a presentation at work, your thoughts may follow a path of negativity. "I'm going to mess up, people will judge me," or "I can't do this." These thoughts then reinforce the feelings of anxiety and dread. Our emotions influence how we interpret the world around us, and those interpretations shape our thought patterns. This emotional feedback loop can be self-perpetuating, where negative emotions lead to negative thoughts, and negative thoughts intensify negative emotions. On the other hand, positive emotions can have the opposite effect, promoting optimistic thinking and greater resilience. When you feel confident or hopeful, your thoughts tend to align with those emotions, and you are more likely to approach challenges with curiosity and openness, seeing them as opportunities for growth rather than obstacles to overcome. Understanding the link between emotions and thoughts helps us realize the power of emotional intelligence, the ability to recognize, understand, and manage our emotions. By learning to regulate our emotions, we can prevent them from spiraling into negative thought patterns that hold us back. The impact of thoughts on our behavior and physical health. What is most fascinating about our thoughts is how they impact not only our behavior, but also our physical health. When we think negatively, our bodies respond in a very real physical way. For example, when you worry about an upcoming event, your body may experience symptoms of stress like increased heart rate, shallow breathing, or tightness in your chest. These physical symptoms are the result of the brain sending signals to the body, activating the sympathetic nervous system, our fight or flight response. Similarly, chronic negative thinking can lead to long-term health issues. Stress, anxiety, and feelings of helplessness are often linked to increased inflammation, weakened immune function, and a higher risk of heart disease. Our thoughts don't just stay in our heads, they manifest in our bodies, influencing our physical health over time. On the flip side, positive thinking and emotional well-being can have a healing effect on the body. Research has shown that optimism and positive thinking are linked to lower levels of stress, improved immune function, and even better cardiovascular health. When we engage in constructive thinking, focusing on the positive aspects of situations or seeing challenges as opportunities to grow. Our brain releases neurochemicals that promote health and help the body function optimally. In essence, our thoughts are not only a reflection of our minds, but also a reflection of our bodies. When we change the way we think, we can positively affect our mental and physical health. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change and grow. One of the most exciting discoveries in neuroscience is the concept of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change and adapt throughout life. For years, it was believed that the brain was essentially fixed once we reached adulthood. But recent research has shown that the brain is highly adaptable, capable of forming new connections and reorganizing itself based on experiences, learning, and new thinking patterns. This discovery is transformative because it means that negative thought patterns, no matter how deeply ingrained, can be rewired. Through conscious effort and repetition, we can literally retrain our brains to think in more positive, empowering ways. This is where cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, and other therapeutic techniques come in, helping individuals identify and challenge negative thought patterns and replace them with healthier alternatives. Neuroplasticity shows us that our brains are not limited by past experiences or negative thinking. Instead, our brains are malleable, able to adapt and grow based on the input we provide. Just as we can strengthen muscles through exercise, we can strengthen positive thinking through repetition and practice. The more we engage in constructive, growth-oriented thinking, the stronger those neural pathways become, and the easier it becomes to stay on a positive track, harnessing the power of thoughts to shape our future. The science of thought teaches us that our minds are incredibly powerful and that we have the ability to change the way we think. We are not bound by our past or the automatic negative thoughts that come into our heads. We can train our minds to think in ways that support our goals, build our self-esteem, and empower us to face challenges with confidence. Every thought you have is an opportunity to influence your reality. The more you choose to focus on positive, empowering thoughts, the more you will see positive changes in your life. Thoughts lead to feelings, feelings lead to actions, and actions shape the life you experience. By practicing mindfulness, engaging in self-reflection, and using techniques such as cognitive restructuring, you can begin to consciously control your thoughts. This doesn't mean ignoring or suppressing negative thoughts. It means recognizing them, understanding where they come from, and choosing to replace them with healthier, more productive ones. Over time, these intentional changes in thinking can lead to profound shifts in how you perceive yourself and the world. As you continue to rewire your brain, you'll discover that you're not just a passive participant in your thoughts. You are the creator of your mental landscape. Conclusion: shaping your mind for growth and success. The science behind thoughts and their impact on our lives reveals just how interconnected our minds and bodies are. Thoughts have the power to shape our emotions, influence our behavior, and even affect our physical health. By understanding how thoughts are formed and how they influence our reality, we gain the power to shape our lives in more positive and productive ways. The key takeaway from this chapter is that your thoughts are not fixed. You have the ability to challenge and change them. Through the science of neuroplasticity, you can rewire your brain to support growth, success, and well-being. It all starts with the realization that you are in control of your thoughts, and with the right mindset, you can begin to unlock your full potential. As we move forward in this audiobook, we'll explore practical strategies for breaking free from negative thought patterns and building a mindset that supports your growth and success. But remember, the power to change begins with your awareness and the understanding that you can shape your thoughts and, in turn, your reality. Chapter 3: Identifying the root causes of negative thought patterns. Before we can begin to break free from negative thought patterns, we need to understand where they come from. Just as we cannot fix a problem without understanding its cause, we cannot fully address negative thinking without identifying its roots. Negative thought patterns are often deeply ingrained in our minds, often stemming from past experiences, societal influences, and learned behaviors. These patterns can silently shape our perspectives and responses, but once we identify their origin, we can begin to challenge and reframe them, leading to long-term change and transformation. In this chapter, we'll explore the common root causes of negative thought patterns and how they are formed. We'll also look at how early experiences, cultural conditioning, and unresolved emotions contribute to the negative scripts we carry with us. By gaining a deeper understanding of these causes, you'll be better equipped to change the way you think, ultimately empowering you to overcome negative thinking and unlock a more positive and fulfilling life. Early life experiences and their impact on thought patterns. Many of our negative thought patterns can be traced back to our early life experiences, especially childhood. As children, we are highly impressionable and absorb information and messages from those around us: parents, teachers, peers, and the broader culture. If we experienced criticism, rejection, or neglect as children, these experiences often leave lasting marks on our psyche, shaping the way we view ourselves and the world. For example, a child who was constantly told they were not good enough, or who faced harsh criticism for making mistakes, may internalize the belief that they are incompetent or unworthy. This belief can later manifest as a negative self-image, influencing their behavior and thoughts in adulthood. Such negative thought patterns may manifest as self-doubt, fear of failure, or an avoidance of new opportunities due to a belief in their own inadequacy. On the other hand, if a child is raised in an environment where perfection is expected, they may develop perfectionistic tendencies that lead to all-or-nothing thinking in adulthood. For example, if I can't do this perfectly, I've failed completely. This creates an unrealistic standard for oneself and can lead to frustration and constant self-criticism when things aren't perfect. These early experiences set the foundation for how we view ourselves and the world. They can embed deeply held beliefs that continue to influence our thoughts and behaviors long after childhood. Identifying these root causes is the first step in understanding why we think the way we do, and recognizing that these patterns, while learned, do not have to define us. Cultural and societal conditioning. In addition to early life experiences, the society and culture in which we grow up play a significant role in shaping our thought patterns. Society often sends us explicit and implicit messages about what is acceptable, what success looks like, and how we should behave. These societal norms can contribute to negative thinking, especially when we feel we don't measure up to the expectations set by others or by the media. For instance, in many cultures, success is often defined by external achievements, such as career success, financial wealth, or physical appearance, leading to pressure to perform and be perfect. If you don't meet these standards, you may begin to question your worth, leading to negative self-talk and the belief that you're somehow less than others. Women, for example, often face societal pressures regarding body image, with media images of perfect bodies leading many to develop unhealthy self-esteem and negative thoughts about their appearance. Similarly, men may face societal expectations to be strong, independent, and successful, which can create the belief that expressing vulnerability or seeking help is a weakness. These societal pressures, though often subtle, can deeply affect our thoughts. For instance, if you grew up in an environment that emphasized achievement above all else, you may internalize the belief that failure equals worthlessness. Or, if you were told that vulnerability was a weakness, you may struggle to express emotions or ask for help, leading to feelings of isolation or inadequacy. Cultural and societal conditioning feeds into the development of negative thought patterns. It often sets unrealistic standards, creating feelings of shame, guilt, and self-criticism when we inevitably fail to meet them. Recognizing these societal influences allows us to disconnect from these external expectations and develop a more authentic sense of self-worth that is not dependent on outside validation. Unresolved emotions and trauma. Another major root cause of negative thought patterns is unresolved emotional pain or trauma. When we experience emotional pain, whether in childhood or adulthood, we often develop coping mechanisms that can lead to negative thinking. This can include suppressing emotions, avoiding situations that trigger painful memories, or engaging in self-blame. For example, someone who has experienced betrayal in a relationship may develop the belief that they are unlovable, or that all future relationships will end in betrayal. Similarly, someone who has faced emotional neglect or abuse may internalize the message that they are not worthy of care or attention. These emotional wounds often result in thought patterns such as fear of rejection, self-sabotage, or difficulty trusting others. Trauma, whether it's physical, emotional, or psychological, can create lasting changes in the brain that affect how we process emotions and interpret situations. Negative thought patterns that stem from trauma often revolve around feelings of shame, guilt, or unworthiness. These thoughts can become entrenched and seem inescapable, but the first step toward healing is recognizing the link between trauma and negative thought patterns. Working through emotional healing and trauma recovery is essential to breaking free from these patterns. It requires a willingness to confront difficult emotions, seek therapy or counseling if needed, and allow yourself to process and release the pain that has shaped your thinking. The impact of negative thought patterns on our lives. Once we understand the root causes of negative thought patterns, we can begin to recognize their impact on our lives. Negative thinking doesn't just affect our mental state, it influences every aspect of our existence, from our relationships to our career to our physical health. When we consistently engage in negative self-talk or ruminate on our perceived failures, we limit our potential. We might hold ourselves back from pursuing opportunities or setting goals because we've convinced ourselves we're not capable of succeeding. We might avoid new experiences or relationships because we fear rejection or failure. Negative thinking limits our range of action and creates a self-fulfilling prophecy where our fears and doubts prevent us from reaching our true potential. Negative thought patterns can also impact our emotional health. When we consistently think negatively about ourselves, we can develop feelings of anxiety, depression, and low self-worth. These emotions then affect our behavior and actions. Chronic negative thinking leads to mental fatigue, as it takes constant energy to suppress or manage negative emotions. Over time, this can cause both emotional and physical burnout. In relationships, negative thought patterns can lead to miscommunication, defensiveness, and a lack of trust. For example, personalization, where we take responsibility for things outside of our control, can cause unnecessary stress and tension in relationships. Fear of failure might prevent us from fully engaging in relationships or pursuing meaningful connections. Conclusion: breaking the cycle of negative thought patterns. Understanding the root causes of negative thought patterns is the first critical step in breaking the cycle of negativity. By acknowledging how past experiences, societal pressures, and unresolved emotions shape our thinking, we gain the awareness needed to interrupt these patterns and begin to change them. Remember that while these patterns may have been shaped over many years, they are not set in stone. With time, self-compassion, and deliberate effort, you can rewire your thinking, overcome self-limiting beliefs, and create a mindset that supports your goals, growth, and happiness. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to begin challenging these negative thought patterns and provide actionable strategies to shift your thinking toward a more positive, empowering, and constructive mindset. But for now, embrace the knowledge that understanding your thought patterns is the first step in taking back control of your mind and creating the life you want to lead. Chapter 4: Practical Techniques for Overcoming Negative Thoughts. Negative thoughts can feel overwhelming and pervasive, often shaping our emotions and behaviors in ways that we don't consciously choose. These thoughts may appear automatically and seem uncontrollable, but the truth is that we have the power to change them. In this chapter, we'll explore practical, evidence-based techniques that you can use to break free from negative thought patterns, rewire your thinking, and build a healthier mindset. These techniques can help you take conscious control of your thoughts and shift toward a more empowering and positive outlook. The power of awareness, recognizing negative thoughts. The first step in overcoming negative thoughts is becoming aware of them. Negative thoughts often arise unconsciously and can seem like they're simply a part of who we are. But by developing awareness, we begin to see that we are not our thoughts. Thoughts are just mental events that come and go. They don't define us unless we choose to accept them as truth. Mindfulness is a powerful practice that helps us become aware of our thoughts in real time. Mindfulness involves paying attention to the present moment without judgment. By practicing mindfulness, you can create a space between yourself and your thoughts, allowing you to observe them objectively rather than reacting to them. This moment of awareness gives you the power to decide whether to engage with a thought or let it pass by. For example, let's say you catch yourself thinking, "I'm not good enough," in a moment of self-doubt. Instead of immediately buying into that thought, mindfulness allows you to notice it as just a thought. You can then choose to let it go or reframe it into something more empowering. Over time, mindfulness trains you to observe your thoughts with detachment, allowing you to create a more constructive mental environment. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, challenging negative thoughts. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, is one of the most widely researched and effective techniques for breaking free from negative thought patterns. CBT operates on the idea that thoughts influence feelings, and feelings influence behavior. When you change your thoughts, you can change how you feel and how you act. The core of CBT involves identifying negative or unhelpful thoughts, challenging them, and then replacing them with more balanced and realistic thoughts. This process helps you break the cycle of automatic negative thinking that perpetuates feelings of anxiety, depression, and self-doubt. Let's break this down further. When a negative thought arises, follow these steps. Identify the thought. First, recognize the negative thought. Is it an all or nothing thought, like, "I'm terrible at everything"? Is it a thought based on fear or self-criticism, like, "I'm not capable of handling this"? Write it down so you can observe it more clearly. Examine the evidence. Ask yourself, is this thought true? What evidence do I have to support or refute it? Often, negative thoughts are exaggerated or based on assumptions rather than facts. For example, if you think, "I'll never succeed," challenge that thought by considering the evidence of times when you've been successful or accomplished something meaningful, no matter how small. Reframe the thought. Once you've examined the evidence, try to reframe the negative thought into something more realistic and empowering. Instead of "I'll never succeed," try "I've faced challenges before and succeeded. This situation is just another opportunity to learn and grow." By regularly practicing this technique, you begin to weaken the negative thought patterns and replace them with more balanced, reality-based thoughts. Affirmations. Rewriting your internal dialogue. Affirmations are short, positive statements that you repeat to yourself to rewire your brain. They work by replacing negative self-talk with empowering messages that reinforce self-belief and self-worth. Affirmations are powerful because they create new neural pathways in the brain that support positive thinking and confidence. The key to affirmations is to make them specific, positive, and in the present tense. Instead of saying, "I will be successful," say, "I am capable and confident in my abilities." By phrasing your affirmation in the present tense, you are reinforcing the belief that success is already happening in your life. It shifts your focus away from what you don't have and toward the strengths and qualities you already possess. For example, If you struggle with self-doubt, an affirmation might be, "I trust myself to make the right decisions, and I learn from every experience." You can also create personalized affirmations that resonate with your own values, goals, and challenges. Incorporate affirmations into your daily routine. Say them aloud every morning, write them in a journal, or post them in places where you'll see them throughout the day. Over time, these positive statements can help reprogram your subconscious to support a growth-oriented mindset. Visualization, seeing your success before it happens. Visualization is a technique that allows you to mentally rehearse success, making it feel more achievable and real. It's based on the idea that the brain doesn't differentiate between real and vividly imagined experiences. When you visualize a goal, your brain activates the same neural pathways as if you were actually performing the action. To use visualization effectively, find a quiet space and close your eyes. Imagine yourself achieving your goal with as much detail as possible. Feel the emotions of success. What does it feel like to have accomplished what you set out to do? What does it look like? How does it sound? The more vividly you can imagine the experience, the more real it becomes to your mind. Visualization works because it primes your brain for success. By creating a mental image of success, you begin to believe that it's possible. And this belief motivates you to take the necessary actions. For example, if you're preparing for a presentation, take a few minutes to visualize yourself speaking confidently in front of your audience, delivering your message clearly and engagingly. This visualization not only calms your nerves but also reinforces your belief in your abilities. Visualization can be applied to any area of life, career, relationships, health, or personal goals. By consistently visualizing your success, you create a powerful mental habit that fosters confidence and focus. Gratitude, shifting focus from negativity to positivity. Gratitude is one of the most effective ways to shift your mindset from negative thinking to positive thinking. By focusing on the positive aspects of your life, you naturally retrain your brain to look for good things instead of dwelling on the negative. Every day, take a moment to reflect on what you are grateful for. These don't have to be monumental events. It can be as simple as appreciating a warm cup of coffee in the morning, a supportive friend, or the fact that you were able to accomplish something on your to-do list. Gratitude shifts your perspective, reminding you of the abundance in your life rather than the perceived lack. Research has shown that regular gratitude practice can improve mental health, reduce stress, and even boost your immune system. By incorporating gratitude into your daily routine, you're training your mind to focus on what's going well rather than what's not. Creating new habits. Consistency is key. Breaking free from negative thought patterns is not a one-time fix. It's a process that requires ongoing effort. The more consistently you practice the techniques discussed in this chapter, the more naturally they will become part of your thinking. Just as physical exercise strengthens muscles over time, regular mental exercises can strengthen your mindset. To create lasting change, begin by incorporating these techniques into your daily routine. Practice mindfulness in your daily activities, challenge negative thoughts as they arise, repeat positive affirmations, visualize success regularly, and reflect on your gratitude each day. As you practice these techniques, you will gradually form new mental habits that promote positive thinking and self-empowerment. Conclusion: taking control of your thoughts. Overcoming negative thought patterns requires commitment and practice, but the effort is worth it. The techniques we've explored, mindfulness, cognitive restructuring, affirmations, visualization, and gratitude, are all powerful tools that can help you take control of your thoughts, shift your mindset, and create lasting positive change in your life. As you apply these techniques, remember that change takes time, and progress isn't always linear. Be patient with yourself and celebrate the small victories along the way. Each time you challenge a negative thought or replace it with something more empowering, you are reinforcing the belief that you have the power to change. With consistent practice, you can transform your thinking, break free from negativity, and unlock your true potential. Chapter 5. Building New Thought Patterns. Breaking free from negative thought patterns is only the first step. Once you have identified and challenged the unhelpful thoughts that have held you back, the next crucial phase of your transformation involves building new thought patterns, ones that empower you, foster growth, and align with your true potential. This chapter will guide you through the process of constructing new thought patterns that not only replace negativity, but also fuel your progress, helping you achieve success and fulfillment in all areas of life. Building new thought patterns is not about denying the reality of your challenges or pretending that everything is always positive. It's about choosing to focus on solutions, possibilities, and opportunities rather than dwelling on limitations or setbacks. It's about consciously training your mind to embrace growth, creativity, and resilience, and ultimately reprogramming your brain to reflect the best version of yourself. In this chapter, we'll explore how to build these new thought patterns by leveraging positive reinforcement, creating mental habits, and using cognitive restructuring. By the end of this chapter, you'll have the tools to create a mindset that supports your personal growth, enabling you to face challenges with confidence and persevere through adversity with a sense of purpose. The role of repetition in changing thought patterns. One of the key principles in building new thought patterns is repetition. Just as it takes time to learn a new skill or form a new habit, it also takes time to change the way we think. The brain thrives on consistency, and repeated thoughts will eventually form new neural pathways. These pathways shape how we think, feel, and respond to the world. Imagine your brain as a network of roads, some well-worn, others less traveled. Negative thought patterns are like highways, easy to navigate and familiar, whereas new, positive thoughts are more like dirt roads, less clear and harder to traverse at first. By consistently practicing new, empowering thoughts, you begin to pave those dirt roads into well-traveled highways, making them easier to access with each repetition. This is why it's essential to practice your new thought patterns every day. The more often you intentionally think in positive, constructive ways, the more you strengthen the neural connections that support these thoughts. Over time, your new way of thinking becomes automatic, just like the old negative thoughts once were. Using affirmations to reinforce new thought patterns. One of the most powerful tools for building new thought patterns is the use of affirmations. Affirmations are positive statements that help reprogram your subconscious mind. They are an excellent way to replace negative self-talk with empowering beliefs about yourself and your abilities. By repeating affirmations daily, you begin to train your mind to think more positively and align with your goals. When crafting affirmations, it's important to keep them specific, positive, and present tense. For example, instead of saying, "I will be confident," say, "I am confident and capable of achieving my goals." The present tense not only makes the affirmation feel more immediate and real, but it also signals to your brain that the change you desire is already happening. To make your affirmations even more effective, say them with emotion. Feel the truth of the words as you speak them. When you connect emotionally with your affirmations, you create a stronger neural association, which makes them more impactful. You can repeat your affirmations throughout the day when you wake up, before you go to bed, or during moments when you need a confidence boost. Creating mental habits that reinforce positive thinking. In addition to affirmations, mental habits are another critical element in building new thought patterns. Mental habits refer to the automatic ways of thinking that guide our reactions and decisions in life. Just as we can form physical habits like brushing our teeth every morning or exercising regularly, we can also form mental habits that support positive, growth-oriented thinking. To create new mental habits, start by identifying the areas in which you struggle with negative thoughts. Is it around your career, your relationships, your self-esteem? Once you've identified the area, create a positive mental habit that can help shift your focus. For example, if you often find yourself doubting your ability to succeed at work, make it a habit to visualize success before beginning any task. Visualizing yourself completing a project successfully helps reinforce the belief that you can succeed. Another example might be incorporating self-compassion into your mental habits. If you often criticize yourself for making mistakes, create the habit of practicing self-compassion by saying, "It's okay to make mistakes. I learn from them and grow." Over time, this habit will help you embrace imperfection and turn setbacks into learning opportunities. By consciously practicing these new mental habits, you begin to shift your thinking from negative to positive. With repetition, these new habits become ingrained, creating an environment in your mind that supports success, growth, and happiness. Using cognitive restructuring to reframe negative thoughts. Another effective technique for building new thought patterns is cognitive restructuring. Cognitive restructuring involves identifying distorted, negative thoughts and replacing them with healthier, more balanced alternatives. It's about challenging the assumptions that fuel negative thinking and choosing to adopt more realistic, growth-oriented perspectives. For instance, if you often think, "I can never do this," recognize that this is an example of all or nothing thinking. Instead of accepting this thought as truth, challenge it by asking, "What evidence do I have that I can't do this?" Then reframe the thought to something more constructive. "I might not know how to do this yet, but I'm capable of learning and improving." Cognitive restructuring isn't about ignoring reality. It's about changing the way you interpret and respond to reality. It's about seeing opportunities in challenges, solutions in problems, and growth in adversity. By consciously restructuring your thoughts, you begin to build a mental framework that supports success and resilience. Visualizing success, using your mind to shape your future. Visualization is a powerful tool that can accelerate the process of building new thought patterns. By imagining yourself achieving your goals, you create a mental blueprint for success that your mind can begin to work toward. Visualization works because the brain doesn't distinguish between real and vividly imagined experiences. When you visualize success, your brain activates the same neural pathways it would if you were actually experiencing the event. To use visualization effectively, find a quiet space, close your eyes, and imagine yourself living the life you want to create. See yourself succeeding in your goals, whether it's delivering a successful presentation, running a marathon, or having a fulfilling relationship. The more vivid the details, the more your mind begins to accept this as a possibility. This will help you align your subconscious with your conscious desires. Visualization can also help with overcoming fear. If you're anxious about taking a new step, visualize yourself taking action confidently, handling the challenge with ease, and achieving the outcome you desire. This not only calms your nerves but also reinforces your belief in your ability to succeed. Building resilience through positive thought patterns. As you develop new thought patterns, one of the most important benefits is the development of resilience. Resilience is the ability to bounce back from setbacks, adapt to challenges, and maintain a positive outlook even in difficult times. When you cultivate positive thinking, you reinforce your inner strength and mental flexibility, which allows you to remain focused and optimistic when faced with obstacles. Resilience is built through consistent practice of positive thinking. By focusing on solutions rather than problems, seeing failures as opportunities for growth, and challenging limiting beliefs, you strengthen your ability to persevere through tough times. Over time, your new thought patterns become ingrained in your mindset, making you more adaptable and capable of handling life's challenges. Conclusion: creating a new reality with positive thought patterns. Building new thought patterns is an ongoing process that requires intentional effort, repetition, and patience. By consciously shifting your thinking from negative to positive, you reshape the way you perceive the world and yourself. This shift not only improves your mental and emotional well-being, but also enhances your ability to achieve your goals, develop resilience, and thrive in any circumstance. The more you practice these techniques, affirmations, cognitive restructuring, visualization, and mental habits, the more natural they will become. Over time, you will see that the once automatic negative thoughts lose their power, replaced by empowering beliefs that propel you toward success and fulfillment. Remember, changing your thought patterns is like reprogramming a computer. It requires time and consistent effort, but with each step, you're building a stronger, more positive mindset. By doing so, you'll unlock your full potential and create a reality that reflects your dreams, not your doubts. As we conclude, it's important to reflect on the transformative power of your thoughts. Positive thinking isn't just an abstract concept. It's a tangible tool that can shape your reality and drive you toward the life you want to live. The way you think affects how you feel, how you act, and the opportunities you attract into your life. When you take control of your thoughts, you take control of your destiny. Throughout this audiobook, we've explored the profound impact of negative thought patterns and the many ways they can limit your potential. But the good news is that those negative patterns can be rewired. By consciously shifting your focus toward positive, empowering thoughts, you can overcome self-doubt, unlock your true potential, and achieve your goals. Changing your mindset is a process, and it requires consistent effort. It's not about being overly optimistic or ignoring reality. It's about choosing to focus on possibilities rather than limitations, seeing challenges as opportunities, and believing in your ability to grow and improve. The power of consistent practice. As you start to incorporate the techniques we've discussed, mindfulness, cognitive reframing, affirmations, and visualization into your daily routine, you'll notice a shift in how you perceive yourself and the world. The more you practice these techniques, the more naturally positive thinking will become. You don't need to expect perfection right away. The key is to stay consistent. Small, incremental changes in your thinking can lead to profound shifts in your behavior, relationships, and overall success. Over time, the new positive thought patterns will replace the negative ones, and you'll begin to see life through a more optimistic and empowered lens. Your thoughts shape your reality. Remember, your thoughts have the power to create your reality. When you choose to think positively, you are aligning your mind with the future you want to build. Positive thinking helps you stay resilient, face challenges with confidence, and ultimately achieve your goals. It's about believing in your own worth and capabilities, and using your thoughts as a catalyst for personal growth. As you continue your journey, keep in mind that you are the creator of your reality. The more you choose empowering thoughts, the more you will see those thoughts reflected in your actions, achievements, and relationships. Final reflection. In the end, embracing positive thinking is a lifelong practice, but it is one that can transform your life. With patience and consistency, you can change your mindset, break free from limiting beliefs, and start living with a greater sense of purpose and fulfillment. You are capable of achieving anything you set your mind to, so choose thoughts that align with your goals and your potential. The path to a better life begins with a single thought. What will you choose to think today?